Now going to introduce our first speaker, who is Roy Riggs, and Roy and I have been Skyping zealously. Roy is an EMF consultant and master dowser. He told me that he's a professional lumberjack, or he has been a professional lumberjack for 9 years and a frontline Metropolitan Police officer for 25. He represented England at the World Sprint Triathlon Championships in Budapest, I think in 2010. So he will demonstrate his speed, hopefully today. He's going to be talking about the importance of recreating your natural environment. And I asked him for 3 key points, and he said his top 3 messages for his presentation today are: number 1, understand the nature of the problem, white noise, earth geomagnetic field and electric field. Number 2 is measure the problem, and then finally his advice on how to re-establish a natural environmental relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Roy Riggs.
Thank you. Now, where did electro-innocence begin? Well, I will tell you, it began on the savannah many, many years ago, where the optimum, most beautiful natural environment existed. So there we were, standing with our spear. We were hunter-gatherer. We were in our bare feet, and first of all, we were bathed with white noise. Beautiful white noise. The aftermath of the Big Bang, it sounds like all our homes should sound like white noise. I will tell you, they don't. The second relationship would be the Earth's geomagnetic field differs in strength from latitude to latitude. And wherever you are, let's go back to our hunter-gatherer, he would have a perfect relationship with that geomagnetic field. Thirdly, and most importantly, because he's standing there with his bare feet, lightning perpetually strikes the Earth, discharges electrons onto the surface of the Earth. So just imagine a sea of flowing electrons and the resonance that goes with it, Schumann's resonance, about 7 to 12 hertz. All of this is being raised into his body, looping into his body, and looping out of his body, and there's a sense of complete calm, because Schumann resonance is very low alpha, and you'll be very calm. White noise and the correct relationship. Now, what I do, I visit homes, and to date I've visited 1,052 homes during my 11 years worldwide, and I try to find out to what extent the deviation is from that natural model to the house, and then try to recreate that. And this is what we're going to quickly talk about. So let me see. This is some of the instruments that I have to use when I'm there. As you see, quite a lot. And we are talking about the 3 main components: white noise, Earth's geomagnetic field, and natural voltage. When I do a house, I take people outside, bare feet, and then I can measure all these, and I show them this is all measurable, all science, and we can actually see the difference between outside and inside. And this is my late father using a geomagnetometer to measure any deviations in the Earth's natural geomagnetic field across the mattress, because where you sleep is so important. That is where you spend a third of your life, and that is where health really begins. So that your sleeping place has to be right. So let's talk about the Earth's geomagnetic field. Here are springs. Everybody's got those in their mattresses, and you can see straight away that it's quite unnatural to lay on those springs. First of all, it's going to attract a lot of static electricity. Second, it's going to act like a big aerial and intensify any radio frequency. And thirdly, it's going to distort the Earth's geomagnetic field. And let's have a look at that distortion. Here, well, let's do the science. Let's do the science first. So here's me. I'm in the field. This is the mattress. Imagine the mattress is not there, and I've measured that area without the mattress. There is a lead going into my Land Rover, and I will produce a 3D image of the natural contours of the Earth's geomagnetic field. That is it. That is what you should be sleeping on, that beautiful undulating energy. We are mammals, and that controls circadian rhythms as it flows through our bodies, and we should have that correct. Now, when I put the mattress on, I did it again, and this is what we had. This is what it looked like. You will never find that in nature. most of us sleep on a completely distorted geomagnetic field. The answer, of course, is buy a wooden bed and a mattress with no springs. So let's quickly look further. So there's a place in Connecticut where it's an Indian sacred ground, because if you go across this field, you can suddenly feel strange. Tourists know about this, and when they go there, they only feel strange, but they have nosebleeds and they feel quite unwell. And it's because there is a geological fault, and over time, iron ore has seeped into the fault, and that's caused a huge geomagnetic anomaly, a 7,000 nanotesla drop in magnetic gradient, and that's what the people can actually feel. It's called a cliff of tears for that particular reason, but we can all make a mini cliff of tears in our own homes, and the biological effects of that, the World Health Organization, as you can see, sleep time exposure, static magnetic field, either the bump or the sink can cause an acceleration or a slowing down of body fluids, and induction of electrical potential. So sleeping on a mattress with springs is not a very good idea. So here's a stately home that I did. This room, 20 rooms in this house, nobody could sleep in this house because everybody felt unwell. They had exorcists in there, no joy. They had feng shui masters, no joy. Magic symbols on the wall, no joy. I came in there, and in 5 minutes I found out that it was a huge magnetic drop, just like the Cliff of Tears. And here it is, because if I was to, I'll come back to that one. That's missing. Yeah. Right. We took the floorboards off, and this is what is underneath, a big iron girder. This is under the bed. It's just like that seam of iron ore. The bed was on top of that, and that actually caused that drop in magnetic field. And that's why everybody was unwell. I corrected it by putting the opposite polarity of magnets right away across, until my geomagnetometer went to its correct thing. So try this at home, simple experiment. Get a compass, put some cotton every 5 inches down your mattress, move this along, find north-south first, move this along, and it should show north-south. But if it deviates more than 5 degrees each way, then the mattress is stressed. Actually, you will find not only 5 degrees, it'll go 360 degrees in some place, 90 degrees in other places. As you can see, your mattresses, most mattresses are severely distressed. We need to regain that relationship. We want white noise, and we want to sleep in tune with the Earth's geomagnetic field, because it controls circadian rhythms, because we are mammals, and it's important to do that. Well, next, we're going into understanding earthing. That is, don't forget you were born with bare feet, and I want everybody to sleep, white noise, the correct relationship to the Earth's geomagnetic field, and I want that energy from the Earth to flow through your bodies so you can feel very, very relaxed. If I can get those 3 things happening in your house, then I've won. So let's have a look. The Earth, as you can see, is full of those frequencies. You can measure these frequencies. When I take somebody out in their garden, I measure their body voltage. It should be between 2 millivolts to 0, because that is what the Earth is. So your default is there. As soon as you stand bare feet on that Earth, your whole body is in equilibrium, and it is in harmony with that Earth field. It's flowing through you, and you feel relaxed, and you feel good. We know you feel good because animals do it naturally. And look at these pictures. This is about 1930. Children feel good when they walk around and run around in bare feet, because just look at this, everybody's in bare feet, even idealistically, the peasants. It's good for you to get reconnected with the Earth. All this needs to happen whilst you're asleep. Those 3 components are so important for a healthy house, and they can all be achieved. Oops. This is an interesting one, because they are now grounding babies. Because if you have a sick baby in an incubator now, and this is a conference, a very recent conference, 2014, by the Pediatric Medical Conference, they found that grounding babies strongly increased HRV, improved vagus nerve transmissions, and raised the parasympathetic tone. So it's very good for you. We know it's good for you, and we know that you'll be stronger and sleep better. And also, when you're sleeping earthed, as the electrons come into the body and out of the body continuously, what have you got? You've got a natural Faraday cage around the body. It's an electron shield that comes in and out, and it prevents static from entering the body. Most people, don't forget, outside you're about 2 millivolts. The average person who sleeps in a bed sleeps with between 2 to 4,000 millivolts. That's your average, 2 to 4,000 times higher than what you would outside. I measured somebody last week, there was 17,000. The highest I've measured was 36,000. Dr. Klinghardt did a survey on expectant mums and found that the expectant mums with high body voltage were more than likely to give birth to autistic children. So it is important to get things right. Not only are we going to feel more healthy, but we are going to look more beautiful, because sleeping earth, you can see, this is improved facial circulation after 5 minutes, and this is the Journal of Cosmetics and Dermatological Science on their recent conference. So you will not only look better, but you'll feel better. So those three components I'm talking about are very important to recreate in your homes. Okay, we know what the electromagnetic smog is. I remember that bungalow where there was no masts around it. It's uninhabitable now, and this is how things can go wrong. This is a school that I did in Highgate Hill. If you have a hill in London, that's where the mobile phone mast wants to be, because they can beam down on London. And so if you live on a hill, beware. This is Highgate Hill. The parents were very, very worried about all these masts. Luckily, they had me in to survey it for them, because it's the safest place in London to have a school, because they're all under the umbrella effect. All of that is beaming out. It's beaming out towards London, and it's just a black spot completely underneath. Now, another school in Somerset had the same hill with all these masts, and the Parents' Association said, oh, we can't have those, and had them all moved, and they moved them 250 meters around on other buildings, and the school was then beamed right in the optimum beam. So it can backfire if you don't know what you're doing. So I measure masts all the time, and it's not as bad as it sometimes seems. This is a house I did where the baby was crying all night, wouldn't sleep in its bed, and slept in its mother's bed. But look, that's a baby monitor. That's going to pulse out about 2.4 billion hertz, not your 7 hertz outside, 2.4 billion hertz, and the acoustometer was off the record, and the baby was right in front. But even worse, if you look underneath, you will see the electric field. The baby's body voltage was sky high, and the magnetic field as well was very, very high. A high risk for leukemia for that particular child with all these three. We never had that. Ancient man lived in his mud hut. He never had all of that. So it's important to get that sleeping place right, because it can go terribly wrong. Adults were just as bad. Look, this is just typical. Why is your body voltage about 4,000 times higher in your bedroom where you sleep than outside? That is one good reason, right? So we need to address all of these affairs. This is an interesting case. I went to Monte Carlo, and it was a very nice man. He'd beside himself with headaches. All of a sudden, he had this throb in the back of his head. He couldn't sleep, went to the doctor, pills, worse, and found me on the internet. I flew to Nice, he picked me up, took me to Monte Carlo. I found that the problem in about 4 minutes. What he'd done, he bought 2 mobile phones, base stations, both of them base stations, one each side of his bed. And when I turned my acoustics on, you could hear it go, but that was what he could hear and feel. So I turned it off, switched it off straight away, and his headache went. And look at the view. Right out there in the middle, there's a platform. Because I love to swim, and I've got a beach hut on Brighton Beach, that was my job done. So I borrowed his son's swimming trunks, and I swam right out to there, come back. He had a a beautiful lunch for me when I came back. 3 courses with wine on each course. Took me to the airport, a lovely check in my back pocket, and I was home for tea. Now, what a lovely day that was. So now, I'm quickly going to go over geopathic stress. Geopathic stress is where is obnoxious energy coming from the ground, and if you happen to sleep above it, then you're going to be on the receiving end of it. Most of it is underground water, but underground water is not obnoxious, it's wonderful, and it's not even geopathic, and I'm going to tell you why. We're built to survive. We're just a species, Homo sapiens. You're built to survive. We need water. The body will tell you if there's water there. I'm a water dowser. If I find water, before I come near water, I feel heavy, as if gravity is pulling me down. And my equilibrium goes because my dowsing stick goes. That's fine. That is good for me because there's water there. But if I was to sleep above it every night, then I've got that energy exchange all the time. Sunshine is good for you, but you lay in the sun 9 hours every day, then you're going to be on the receiving end of a sick body. It's exactly the same if you sleep above an underground stream or a geological fault. So, I mean, that's just a picture of me. I did the science. I waited until the tide went out, and I counted and tested 30 underground streams flowing in 1 mile. So if you're near the bottom of a hydraulic gradient lake, then you've got a lot of underground water coming from there. This is a job I had in South Africa, flew to South Africa. As you can see, it's a mountain valley, and the lady wanted to build a house with no geopathic stress. Went out there, surveyed, and I told her, you can build your house here, marked the positions, and then she sent me this picture of the house that she built. This just illustrates how important. We don't know much about this in this country, but in other countries they do. They wouldn't dream of living or building a house on a geopathically stressed zone. So this is in Saudi Arabia. One of my clients, a member of the Saudi Arabian nobility, wanted to build a spiritual retreat high in the mountains above the Red Sea. What a wonderful man he was. And I went up there and dowsed the area. That's me in the mountain range. And this is our good friend taught him to douse as I was up there and find water. So he's a wonderful man, I tell you. He's just so knowledgeable about everybody's religion. He was such a humble man, a prince, and he wanted this space in the middle of nowhere as his retreat. Very lovely man. Quickly, this is odd. We went across the Arabian desert, and as you do, we stopped. I wanted to go for a wee-wee. And he wanted to go for a wee-wee. So I went through my bush, and he went to his bush. And when I came back, he came back carrying this jug. And I said, enlighten me. You've got the whole Arabian desert to have a wee, and surely you haven't. He said, no. I said, look, as a good Muslim, we are required to wash our hands when we touch a book. And I was so touched by that. It was such a lovely sort of picture. I thought, I know it's nothing to do with what we do, but I thought I would let you know anyway. Okay, so sleeping above an underground stream. These are the energy-depleted state, insomnia, headaches, loss of balance. All these are the early signs. You may have got everything else right. You may have your white noise. You may have your mattress with no springs. You may have everything correct. But this has got to be correct as well. I'm talking about the perfect and optimum home environment where everything is right. So I have to include this, and you have to be aware that things can go wrong. So in summary, bring back white noise, sleep in a wooden bed, no springs, sleep earth, and don't sleep above geopathic stress zone, and you've got it. You've got it. You've got the same as our great ancestors had on the savannah, and that is what I strive to recreate in your homes. The next one is a lovely picture. Actually, Guy Hudson, who's been talking later, took this picture when he was finding water for this remote village in Zambia. Now, the thing about that picture, these 3 lovely ladies, is they've got it all right. There's no Wi-Fi in their huts. They're straw mattress, and they're living with the correct relationship to the Earth's geomagnetic field. Everything is correct. And I want you to look at their complexion. Aren't they beautiful-looking women? Remember I said earthing and that beautiful? They are naturally beautiful women. Now, when guys said, look, I want to take your picture, you know what ladies are. They rush to there, they put on their finery and they put on their shoes because they normally were barefooted. I tell you, but because of the photograph, they wanted shoes. So they put their shoes, their finery on. Now, Martha, the one at the very end, didn't even own a pair of shoes. She was so poor, she borrowed a pair of shoes from her sister, which was too small. And so they lined up and had this picture taken. Can I tell you a little story? Before Guy went, he took Martha to the town and bought her a brand new pair of shoes. So that ended fine. So ideally, I want you to all look like that. And there's no reason why you shouldn't look like that if you get those components right. And it is my job to go out there, and I've been doing it for many, many years, to actually test your homes and see what the deviation is, and I'll explain to you, okay, you've got Wi-Fi, you've got this, so let's understand what's happening, and let's try and get rid of it. Mostly it's your own equipment, and I can show you how to get onto the internet. You don't need Wi-Fi. You don't need Wi-Fi at all. It's nothing to do with the internet signal. You can get a beautiful internet without Wi-Fi. You don't need a deck cordless phone, and if it's an outside influence, then we can screen it. There's so many screening products on the market now, and it's quite possible. Even if you live in the middle of London, I've done the middle of London surrounded by mobile phone masts, and we can still get white noise. So it is possible to some degree to get that back. And this is what I want you to all strive for. Look at the whole problem holistically, home environment, and now these are the components that we need. And I've been given my 1 minute, so I'm going to my next one, and that is it. The end. Thank you.